right, let's jump into the unboxing and go over some amazing tech specs. So this is, of course, part of the innovation pack from Mizuno that recently dropped. There are 5 models, one of which is a regional variant straight from Japan. So these are the Morelia Proto Japan Limited, or LTD, the US 9, UK 8, Euro 42, and a 27 centimeters. Now, a few people online were saying, hey, maybe go half a size down. I went true to size because I've actually tried this particular pair on at Ultra Football before buying them because I just wanted to make sure I got the right size, particularly with a special limited edition. So true to size works best for wider feet. For narrower feet, you might be able to get away with half size down given the leather quality. But you get with all the innovation brand or innovation pack boots, you get a Mizuno string bag, exactly the same as any of the other made in Japan models. String bag isn't super great, but that's all good. All right, here we go. Oh my days. Okay, so this is absolutely stunning, first of all. I love the detailing across the upper, the stitch pattern. Everything about this boot I just think is so cool. Part of me wishes they would have put the FG stud pattern from the Morelia Neo series on here. The AG is cool, but I think for the quality of leather that this is, I don't know why they would do an AG model. I understand that it's sort of like a prototype thing, but that's just my own meanderings, I suppose. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this particular model. So here we go. I'm actually going to just take the tag off as well, get this sorted. So this was one of 5 models, as I said before. So we have, of course, the Morelia Proto. We have the Morelia, which was made all in Japan, basically. So it has Wagyu leather. We have the Japan exclusive Morelia Monarcida 3, I believe, which is another Wagyu leather boot. It's sort of it's a takedown of the Morelia Neo series, but it's a little bit different. It's constructed a little bit different. And then we also got, of course, the soleplate swap for the Alpha 2 and the Morelia Neo 4 Beta. So very, very cool from Mizuno. This is one of the boots that I think is probably the most innovative, I guess. Swapping soleplates doesn't necessarily mean it's like innovative, but it is cool. And I think that other brands should definitely take note of that, particularly because they have access to the stud patterns and it's not like they're creating something new. So this boot has a lot of inspiration from several different brand boots from the past. So we think about off-center lacing system. The Rebula Cup is a boot that I reviewed a couple different times, both in a red and then a white, red, and blue colorway. Rebula Cup is one of the best Mizuno boots, in my opinion, of all time. I think they're fantastic. It very much was a leather sort of, I don't know, kind of power boot almost. It kind of fit that way. It very much performed that way. The sole plate was excellent. So there's some really cool design inspiration from this particular model with the Rebula Cup. And then you have the 4-foot stitching pattern from the Morelia Neo 4 and Neo 4 Beta and Wave Cup. So there's a little bit, let me see if I can find, where do I have a Wave Cup handy? Underneath, maybe? Oh yeah, I do. Here we go. Amazing. Okay, so here is a Wave Cup, and here is the Morelia Proto. So as you can see, exactly the same stitch pattern in the 4-foot as the, well, actually, it's slightly different. It's actually probably closer to the Morelia Neo 4 Beta, which I'm going to struggle to find on a whim here. That's because I don't know where they went. That's okay. Anyway, point being is that there is lots of really cool inspiration that went into this boot. It's not overly complicated by any stretch of the imagination. It's a full K-leather upper, obviously constructed with a slightly different off-center lacing system, different tongue than any of the other boots as well. So you've got a significant amount of padding here, kind of in the spine of that tongue, and then you've got these little leather pieces that sort of hang off the side. My guess is so that just helps with making sure that even if the tongue moves side to side, you still have a connection between that tongue and the side of the boot. Now, this is definitely a boot that I'm going to consider putting another lace hole in, particularly because you kind of have room right there. And on the other side, I will be making a full breakdown video of how to do with tools like this, which is actually a leather hole punching tool. And so what I probably will do is I may use it on a pair of these. I may also use it on a pair of DNAs. The one pair of DNAs that I have here, I actually have a second pair on ice, which is somewhere in this room that is completely brand new as well. But I might do it on that boot just to see what it would feel like. That might be the case for these. I'm not sure yet. I need to try them on and really go and get after it in a play test. So let's actually take these out on the turf pitch, see how this stud pattern performs from a sole plate perspective, because this is the same sole plate as we get on the Alpha. And I think most of the other Mizuno boots, this is the one that I know is on the Alpha because I have a couple mates who have the AG Alpha. And they really like this stud pattern, particularly for those AG surfaces that are a little on the harder side, and they tend to perform, this tends to perform really, really well. Not a ton of structure in terms of, in comparison, there's a good amount of structure through the midfoot, but it's not as snappy as obviously the Carvo insert from the Alpha series, but it's going to be maybe a little bit less structure than the Morelia Neo 4. So that's just kind of up to you whether you want something like this or you want to go for one of the sole plate swapped boots that give you a little bit more in terms of sole plate. But in terms of being on AG, I'm sure this will be great. So without further ado, let's jump on pitch and do a little play test and really discover whether this is better than a normal Morelia 2, because I've heard rumors that this might actually become a sort of a normal boot release, but we'll see. All right, guys, out on the pitch. It's a beautiful day here with the Morelia Proto. I am super excited for this review. First of all, because this is an AG stud pattern, which means this pitch is going to be absolutely perfect for it. And also because this boot has so many attributes from boots that I really, really love. I just got to flip this camera around so I can actually see what I'm doing. Amazing. Here we go. All right, so a little up close with these. They look look at that. Man, I just want to get out. Let me just get out of the way for a second. Look at that. Oof. Oof. Love that. Okay. If you guys are interested in 20% off of WeFoot grip socks, you can find a link down in the description box below as well. They are my favorite. I wear them constantly, and we might be doing a collab very soon with my brand logo, which would be sick. Okay. Here we go. First impressions. Oh, yeah. Oh, my days. These are a joke. These are so comfortable. Oh my God. Mizuno. All right, let's get these laced up. One thing that I am actually interested by, okay, so that's what I was afraid of. What I am in love with is they have a little bit of extra space right there for potentially an extra lace knot, because as you can see, I can pull that material over, but it's not maybe as sort of grippy and high up as I want it to be. And because they've given us a little bit of extra real estate on the tongue, meaning lace loop, and then the tongue goes all the way up to here. It's not like distracting or anything, but they do have a little bit more. I can go deeper with the lacing and still not even touch the top of this, top of my ankle area, which is super cool. So yeah, these are absolutely sensationally comfortable. And they do remind me a lot of the fit of the Rebula. I'll have Kelvin put up some photos of the thumbnail, I guess, of the Rebula cup that I reviewed, the white one. And there's actually a video that I did a training session in those as well. So you guys can see, go on YouTube and on my profile and find that as well. And those boots were incredibly comfortable. But I gotta say, those have honestly nothing on these boots. These are absolutely ridiculous. So comfortable, so grounded. This AG sole plate I've talked about quite a lot actually in both the Alpha video and the Morelia Neo 4 beta video of the innovation pack, just because I think there's some interesting commentary around how the the Alpha with the Morelia Neo 4 sole plate is sort of like a middle ground between the top end Alpha being the most aggressive and the AG model with this stud pattern being the least aggressive. Because as you can see, it's not very aggressive for, in terms of like where most stud patterns are, but for an AG surface, you've got tons of pivot, lots of bite, and it is pretty flat. So that's something for players who have flatter feet or have feet that, you know, maybe need a little bit more kind of ability to kind of spread out a little bit. This is a sole plate that's going to suit you, I think, really quite well. And I think the beauty of this particular model is that it combines aspects of some of Mizuno's greatest ever football boots. The Rebula was one of the most well-loved kind of control / power boots from Mizuno. The Mizuno Morelia 2 is obviously an incredible performer. And then the Wave Cup SS Japan and the Wave Cup, like, it's number one, it's incredibly difficult to beat the just plush touch of this kangaroo leather upper that reminds me a lot of, despite it being, you know, without the fold over tongue, the thickness of sort of in between Morelia 2 and Morelia Wave Cup. Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah, an AG stud pattern just feels so nice underfoot, which I love. Absolutely love. And I think these are going to be such a used pair of football boots for me on an AG surface during like pickup games and stuff. First little warm-up drill here, just gonna flip the rebounder upside down, which will be good. A lot of people have actually asked me where I get these, and I literally just get them on Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive, actually, less than 100 bucks, and I've had them for more than a year, which is super cool. A little bit of here, and then bang. Ooh, yes, love that. I'll take that back, thank you. I think this is gonna be one of those football boots that just absolutely disappears. I mean, it's already kind of taking that up, just absolutely disappearing on my feet. You don't really notice it. It just melts onto your foot, which is what you kind of want from a boot like this. And, oh God, really loving that top corner, hey. I just think that as a product, do I wish they would have put like the Neo 4 Beta sole plate on here? Yeah, that would have been really cool. It would have been like the best of all the worlds. But I think putting an AG stud pattern on here is interesting. And to be honest, there's that top corner. I think it fits the innovation pack vibe maybe a little bit more, just because it's like, oh, we're gonna put different stuff on every single model, right? Except for the Morelia, the two Wagyu boots, which are the Monorcita and the Morelia 2. But man, already, what do you have negative to say about a boot like this? Like, incredibly soft. Let's talk about heel area, actually. So with the heel area, I find that putting an extra lace loop in the upper, I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't go a lot higher, because it feels like the lacing system area is like really far down my foot, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you've got like quite a, I guess, what's a nice way of saying this? A robust ankle area, and like not a big deal, obviously. Ooh, gosh, got my feet caught under me. But I do think, I find at least, that the complaints that I'm about to tell you, i.e. the heel area is maybe a little bit, like it's very neutral, but it's not as enjoyable and focused as, let's say, the DNA heel area. There we go. Which I think has, that and the alpha heel area are perfection. Like, they are absolutely sensational. Whereas I feel like they made a mistake with the Morelia Neo 4 stud pattern, where, or sorry, not stud pattern, but heel area, where it's just a little bit too stiff with not enough, like, it's not very anatomical. Anyway, this one follows a lot of the design from the Morelia 2, and it's a little bit big for me right now, but I do feel like most of that issue is because the lacing system area isn't higher up on my feet and kind of pulling that heel area material up and around the top of my foot. So I find that if I do, which I will, put an extra hole in this, I think that's gonna fix the problem, I hope. But honestly, this is
Like there's really not much I can complain about with this boot. It is so incredibly comfortable. I have 0 hot spots at all, which ding, ding, ding means that this wins the award of only a few handful of boots that I can fit into with my wide ass feet that I don't need break-in time for. I have literally fit into these, tied the laces pretty significantly tight, and I have 0 issues, which is honestly not that much of a surprise given the shape and kind of the general plushness and comfort and softness of the made in Japan K-leather. Well, it's made in Australia actually, but the boot is obviously, oh my gosh, get in. So, you know, what is there to complain about for me? Sole plate lacks a little bit of stiffness, maybe. It's pretty flat, so that's nice. It's fun to play in, but I do feel like I'd get pretty tired after a while. There it is. Let's go one more. Like my feet would get pretty tired, but that's a pretty small price to pay for one of the most premium boots out there. Similar to the cross-stitch variant of the Morelia 2, I like the cross-stitch pattern, I like this pattern, I like the Neo 4 Beta pattern, and I like, oh no, and I like the wave cut pattern better than I like the standard Morelia 2, which is just kind of the lateral, you know, medial to lateral stitching, right? So it's just across that way, and it makes for a much more plush feeling football boot, but I don't feel like I get the same amount of structural integrity over time. Meaning, as the boots break in, the more kind of aggressive stitching pattern from a boot like this, and then the other ones that I mentioned, is gonna hold its shape, and when I'm changing directions, it's not gonna overstretch and cause rubbing in other areas, which is what I found with the Morelia 2 after like a year worth of play, where the boots still hold up really well quality-wise, but they've stretched to the point where it's like, okay, now I notice when I'm turning and it's kind of, I wouldn't say hindering performance, but it's just something that's annoying and it causes blisters every once in a while. Getting some free kick action going, really gonna just enjoy this. Man, I love these boots so much. I think it's such a fantastic product. Oof. Maybe I'll grab that one in a minute. Who is this boot not for? Many of you have asked me, Noah, I love this AG sole plate on Mizuno that I've used on AG. Can I use it for an FG stud pattern? Or as a hybrid, right? Use it on FG as well. If it's a pitch like we have here in Australia, particularly here in Melbourne, and actually in Perth as well, where, ooh, wow, love that. Where most of the pitches here are sand-based, so they're actually quite, I don't want to say harsh, but they're quite hard, even though they do have that sort of beautiful carpet-like sensation when you're playing. I do think that this is a boot that can totally work on that type of grass pitch, because I used my AG GXs, the custom black and pink ones from Flower City, on several FG pitches here in Australia, and that stud pattern from Nike is actually quite similar to this one. So I don't think you'd have a problem at all, but this is probably not for the player who's looking for the most like focused and responsive and raw sensation on feet. But honestly, I think that's where most people go wrong. A lot of kids nowadays, and I say kids not to be like infantilizing, right? I'm not trying to talk down to anybody here, but just to say that I think a lot of, you know, young kids these days get sort of, or a lot of players will get sucked into the hype, 1 for 1, thank you, and they'll get in the hype of like, you know, a synthetic boot or a knit boot, or, you know, what's the lightest thing possible, right? And I think when you really, really come down to the essence of what makes a good football boot, for me personally, my philosophy has always been comfort over everything. Fit and comfort over everything. Performance is important, and I think, you know, performance attributes are important, right? A nice sole plate, a good traction pattern, but outside of that, like, I think if most players were to just stop and really consider, like, okay, I've got a product with a swoosh on it, and I've got a product with a running bird on it. This one is all leather, like this one, we'll just take this one. And the other one is Fly Touch Plus or even Grip Knit. If you really, really go down to it, this is more comfortable. And it's gonna be for basically everybody. I get it, you want the most raw, you want the grip elements, your whatever, but if you really come down to the essence of just like simple execution, excellent products, there's nothing else you need. There's nothing else you need. And I think most people who are like, slave to the swoosh. First of all, no. First of all, you. No, I'm kidding. But also, you'd try these on and be like, oh my God, that's why I get so many messages on a day-to-day basis. I'm rambling here, but that's okay. So many messages on a regular basis that are like, I can't believe I haven't gone for Mizuno earlier. I just tried the enter whatever leather model from Mizuno or Asics. It's so much better than everything else on the market. That's what I'm saying. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the playtest portion. This is a wonderful, wonderful pair of football boots. What's interesting that I didn't mention before either is not only do I prefer this stitching pattern like I do with the cross stitch over the normal Morelia 2, because this does have a lot of like fit attributes that are very similar. I prefer this stud pattern over the Morelia 2, the standard Morelia 2 stud pattern, because particularly on AG surfaces, the Morelia 2 stud pattern feels, those studs are very, how would you say, like they're very large, like the circumference of them is actually quite large. And so on occasion, especially on AG surfaces, you feel like you're sort of up on the cleat part or up on the stud part as opposed to sinking into the ground. Whereas with these, you sink right into the ground and you feel super at home and without using the word again, like grounded or natural underfoot. These are genuinely an exceptional product. I absolutely love these, and I'm for sure gonna put another lace hole in them. I will document that whole process as well, probably put it on Instagram also. Do I think they could have picked a better heel area? Yeah, but realistically, this is such a beautifully comfortable football boot. It is so awesome. And compared to the regular Morelia 2, I think this nice extra padding on the tongue area actually provides for a really lovely touch on the ball, especially when you're bringing a ball down on the top of your foot. Because the lacing system is off center, all of your striking isn't really affected by, you know, the padding of the tongue. I know a lot of people kind of have issues with like, well, if the tongue's too thick, then it's sort of similar to the FT model of the Predator, right? It's extra material that gets in the way of you feeling like you can kind of ping the ball. First of all, that's because you should, you know, footballers can do whatever they want with any type of footwear. But with this one particularly, you have a off-center lacing system, so the striking area is super clean. And so you get all the benefits of the plush tongue bringing a ball down out of the ground without that distraction or without that extra sort of lack of connection to the ball on the inside of the foot. So I don't know, these have to be up there for boot of the year for me, despite them putting a relatively mediocre, like just totally fine and average sole plate on here. I think this is one of the best boots on the market, bar none, and I really, really love it. That was such an enjoyable playtest for me. There are some boots that I get in and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, like sort of in the back of my mind as I'm talking to the camera, I'm like, this is gonna suck. Like, I really don't wanna do this. But with this one, this is a boot that I'm probably, after I finish one or two other videos out here, I'm gonna slip these right back on. Oh, so soft, dude. These are crazy. I'm just gonna slip these on, ping a ball around, hit some crossbars, hit some free kicks, and just enjoy. This is a boot that I genuinely think it makes me wanna play football. Like they're so good. And that's what this is the exact same, I'm realizing now, the same thing that I said about the Wave Cup Legend and the Wave Cup SS Japan. They are just a boot that you want to slip in, and it makes you want to f***ing play football. And that is what I love about football boots, at least boots like this. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Discount code 20% off. Ow, that f***ing hurt. Will be in the description box below. As always, we also take care. I'll see y'all in the next video.